Hello, everybody, and welcome to Conversations with Dr. Contessa. We are Dr. Scott and Dr. Contessa Metcalfe, and we are going to be having a wonderful guest today. It is Dr. Dawn Brown. She is a psychiatrist. She is fantastic, and I've known her for a very, very long time. I am excited to have her here because our conversations today are going to center around some of the stress associated with the holidays. And so I know a lot of people have very, very specific ideas about what the holidays mean. For me, it's not nearly as simple and as elegant as a lot of people maybe experience, meaning, I grew up with a family where my parents actually ended up being divorced, and my mom and my dad were for some time separated. And so it's difficult when you're going through something like that growing up, it's difficult for you to not affiliate the holidays with some memories that could be a little bit concerning. And so for that reason, it's difficult for people to acknowledge at times that the holidays may not mean exactly what you want them to mean, because they just don't. Not for everyone. Everyone has a different philosophy about what the holidays are, and we have to respect that. Suicide rates are super high during the holidays, and there is a reason why. So we're going to get into some of the more specifics when Dr. Brown actually joins us. And just an example of some of the things that I kind of wanted to cover today. Just a small, just is going to be a short conversation, but just to make sure that people understand where we're coming through. For a lot of people, the holidays is really a trigger for sadness and depression. It could be a reminder of, especially if you were a kid and you thought that was a time when you would be able to see your parent, either the mom or the dad who didn't live in the home with you. And you were looking forward to an opportunity to see them and the family members that you didn't see on a regular basis during the holiday season. And if that didn't happen for you, then that would be a challenge for you to get excited about the holidays, to remind you of those times. It could also be a time, if you grew up with lack and deficit. And right now, of course, a lot of people have lost their jobs due to the pandemic. And so they're excited about, the holidays because it triggers the end of the year, and they just can't wait till this year to be over. And so it's so exciting for some people, but other people it's really just not. And so we're going to talk about some of those issues. And then again, the way you approach the holidays. For, some families, it's when we all kind of get together, but for other families, when people get together, that can be a time for drama, a lot of alcohol, a lot of fighting, a lot of disagreements. And so, the big question is, how do we deal with that? And how do you move forward? And how do you address the holidays in a way that is healthy, happy, and beneficial to you? And so we're going to address some of those questions and some of those things with Dr. Brown. All righty. Hey, how are you?
How you doing?
And I'm Dr. Contessa. This is my husband, Dr. Scott.
Hey, everybody. And thank you guys for joining us tonight. And like she said, we have a very great discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it's going to be a very great discussion. And we're really going to answer a lot of questions at the end. Just talking about the holidays, because this holiday in particular is very different. It's one like nobody alive has ever experienced this type of holiday that we have upon us now, this whole holiday season. And we're going to kind of address that this could be a holiday for loneliness, depression, alcohol abuse, drug abuse. Just with COVID-19 right now, we know that the incidence of drug abuse amongst teenagers, overdosing amongst teenagers has almost tripled.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not getting a lot of coverage in the media. And depression. I mean, we all, a lot of people get depressed during the holidays in general.
Yeah.
So this holiday is going to be pretty important to a lot of people. And we're not trying to be Debbie Downers tonight. We just want to kind of
figure out how to deal with it.
Figure out how to deal with this depression that's going on.
So how was your childhood? What was it like for you?
My childhood?
Yeah.
Like in general?
Yeah, I mean, the holidays. What do the holidays mean for you?
Well, I'm the youngest of 10. So, I mean, the holidays meant that family was going to come together, that we're going to get together, and hopefully it's a joyous celebration, and for the most part, if we're talking about my childhood in general, it was that, but there are always the family hiccups. And when I say the family hiccups, we had the family hiccups. I had a verbally abusive, alcoholic stepfather. And in my later childhood years, I had brothers that, abused alcohol, and they literally almost had the potential to ruin a lot of moments in the holidays. I wouldn't say they ruined the holidays for us, but they ruined a lot of moments. There were a lot of unnecessary moments during the holidays that, that basically stressed out my mother more than anybody. I mean, it stressed us out, but my mom was big on family and big on holidays, and with brothers coming in and alcoholism and, fighting, fist fights, physical fighting, destruction of property type fighting. That part wasn't good.
No,
it wasn't good.
And so my parents were young parents. Okay. And it's interesting because you don't know a lot, which is kind of good. I mean, I don't think kids need to know everything, but growing up, I did not understand why it was that I went to one grandparent's house all the time and another one's only rarely. And when I did go to that grandparent's house, it was typically one parent that took me to that one. And they said, the other one sat in the car, or just, it wasn't the same kind of natural environment. It was more like going to visit that great aunt that you see every once in a while. So I would go over one grandparent's house and it felt like a second home. Another grandparent, it was like a duty, right? You walked in, you felt like a guest. And the reason being was that my mom and my grandmother didn't get along, right? And so that put a real damper on the holidays in the sense of having that like getting together, because I felt like when I would go over, especially on the holidays, I really would feel like an outsider because it wasn't that same way with some of my cousins. They, that mother, that wife had a better relationship because my dad basically had a bunch of brothers. And so it was all the wives. And so my mom was the outcast when it came to the wives. And so when she would go over to my grandmother's house, she didn't feel comfortable. And so, of course, the kids got pulled into that. And so when I would go over to my, especially during the holidays, because that's when my cousins and stuff would be there, when I would go over, I didn't feel like I was supposed to be there. I felt like an outsider. And so I even dreaded that part of the holidays that we had to, that was kind of like that obligatory, you go house hopping, you go from one house to another. And so that was stressful. And it even over time really affected my relationship with my cousins. Like I felt like I didn't grow up, like my family wasn't close. And that's not true for them. They were close. It was just because
your mother's dynamic.
We weren't, us, the children in my household weren't close to my other cousins, but the rest of them, when I come home now and I see them and I'm like, good Lord, the cousins grow up together and, they all like really know each other. They're like best friends. And so I didn't have that same experience. And so, and then, let's just be honest. I mean, a lot of women have children by men that they really don't have a great relationship with, or it wasn't a real relationship in the first place.
True. And
because of that, again, the holidays don't really involve those other kids, or when they are involved, it's almost like it's a obligatory thing and the kids don't feel that natural feeling. And so, with all that being said, the holidays are just really tough for a lot of people. And so I know people have what's called Friendsgivings, and they do the same thing for Christmas. And we have we're all transplants. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. You're from Michigan. So
we're in Atlanta.
And we're in Atlanta. So we naturally have, a lot of friends that are all over the place. And our house has kind of become that place that we invite people pre-COVID. If you don't have a place to go for the holidays, come over to our house. And it's interesting how many people take us up on that offer.
Yeah.
Even when we didn't have kids.
Right. Yeah. And that's holidays, weekends, barbecues, what have you. And yeah, it's pretty interesting, and I guess it would be extended family.
Yeah.
But back to the holidays. I mean, sometimes it was like we just had a couple select family members, 2 brothers that it was like, glad to see you come, but glad to see you go.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, it would be all fine and dandy. You know, we get together, we do talent shows, we do, you know, entertainment. You know,
amazing.
everybody in the house is cooking, and then, you know, every night it was a war. It was breaking up something. You know, it was bad. And it was, you know, it was, you know, some family members would leave, you know, for sure. So I mean, they would cut the celebration short.
Come here. What'd you say? Come here. You come say hi. And this is our daughter Lauren, and Dr. Brown is coming on. But we were talking a little bit about the holidays, and I will say that, you know, I owe my kids an apology because I did try to, on accident, but no, we're doing two different things. Yeah. So I did grow up a little different. When I was growing up, we didn't really go and stay at family members' houses and things like that. And when we did go and stay at we would visit family members, we would get a hotel room. So we didn't really like stay in people's houses and spend the night and do all that, like on air mattresses and things like that. And so because of that, when we got married, everybody would just trek back to his mother's house. And I was like, she ain't got a house that's going to accommodate all these people. So I'm doing the math and I'm looking at the bathroom and bedroom situation. And I'm like, and she's a good hour from a hotel. So not trying to really be a bad sport, but kind of like, I'm too old for my back to be hurting and me to be sleeping on an air mattress or someone's floor. I didn't really feel like that was like necessary, that every single holiday I would have to trek up, you know, to be in the living room on the air mattress on the floor with my kids. But what's the biggest thing you miss about like the Christmas holidays that you had when you were younger? It's going up north to Big Mama's house, right?
Yeah, when she was alive.
So I almost cheated them out of that. So I was wrong, I think. And we're going to bring Dr. Brown in. Dr. Dawn Brown is an amazing psychiatrist. She's world-renowned. She focuses on adult and pediatric psychiatry, and so she really can talk about both perspectives. And I know at this point, I know I'm all about not damaging people for generations, because that's what we're kind of talking about right now, you know, generational damage. And I'm glad I didn't do that to you, because that show was like, my back hurts. Okay, my back hurts. I'm not trying to sleep on your air mattress. So can y'all just like, you go and just come see me later? But yeah, I had to. I had to get my head right.
And you don't go to sleep until the last person goes to sleep.
Which we could.
And we watch movies all night.
It wouldn't only be movies. It could be also somebody acting crazy because they didn't have too much to drink.
Always acting crazy.
And you sleeping in the living room, so people coming in and out, and it was just So, but big picture, it was good for the kids, but it was really tough because that wasn't how I grew up. It made me feel like I was imposing. You know, I was in the way. I just couldn't get comfortable in somebody else's house. But that would have taken a memory for my children. So, Dr. Brown, I know.
Can you hear Dr. Brown? We can't hear you, but can
you?
Yes. Now we can hear you. Yes.
Awesome.
Hey, how are you? And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. You know, you're one of my favorite families, so I really appreciate being on. Thank you.
Well, do you find that this time of the year is, I mean, I know it's jovial and we see all the commercials and all the cars and it's all beautiful, lights everywhere and festive, but do you find that your workload goes up during this time period?
My workload usually quadruples this time period. So if you're talking about just those who have pre-existing mental health conditions, I'm seeing more of my clientele than new patients. With around this holiday time, for many of them, it's very stressful. When you see the commercials, like you're saying, jovial, you know, people are gathering, you see people around the dinner table, people buying presents and gifts. That's not the situation for everyone, especially during now, right? We have COVID-19, the pandemic going on. It's much different this time of year. So my practice has significantly increased, and not just my practice, but also and the provider for 5 different clinics. And so those clinics have also shown a quite dramatic, significant increase as well in the new patients that we're seeing.
Gotcha. Now, what, as far as when people come in, is it that this time of the year triggers childhood memories, or it just kind of reminds them of what they don't have right now? I mean, what's kind of the big thing that, or even a lot of regret? Because I can even think about, I mean, even if you're in a bad relationship, right? Even if you're in a relationship that's not healthy and that doesn't make you feel great, if you're alone in the holiday, you're kind of like looking back, maybe, you're reevaluating and maybe even recreating history or rewriting history and saying, maybe I overreacted. Maybe I need to reach out to that old guy who used to beat the hell out of me and, choke me out because he got mad at me. But you start kind of recreating history and like, maybe it's not so bad because anything's got to be better than loneliness. But I don't know, maybe am I wrong? Or
no, you're actually partly right. So if we're thinking about just like, for example, pre-existing conditions, those with depression are at higher risk around Thanksgiving and Christmas, are the 2 seasons where we see an increase in suicide attempts, suicide thoughts, suicide behaviors, para-suicide behaviors, like self-harming behaviors. So that alone, we're seeing a quite increase. You're talking about holidays, so social gatherings, right? We are designed to be social as well as human beings. And so it's a good fit, right? But then our situations where you might have been in a pre-existing relationship that wasn't healthy, and it's a loss, even if it was negative. So you're probably right, Dr. Contessa, when you're asking about that. And it's a time of year where people are used to gathering and being together. And so even if it's a situation that is just not healthy, people miss just having that warm body there. The attention, even if it's negative attention, still they're missing that as well. Some people are working during the holidays. We have to think about that as well. It's a high season for many people who may have jobs where it's an influx in sales during the season, or their job demands. And so many people are away from their families. Some people actually travel during the holidays and being away from their families. So that's another situation. Some people don't have the financial expense because we know holidays, the prices go up to travel, right? Gas goes up. And so people can't afford to be with other people, especially now you're putting the pandemic as an umbrella over everything that we're trying to deal with. And so job loss, financial loss, family loss, people haven't seen their loved ones for months, probably this entire year. There's a lot going on right now. And so.
Yeah, not to mention that, when you talk about loss, there's a lot of financial loss. There are people who are depending on or eagerly awaiting the next stimulus check. And, the holidays, this holiday is going to be like none other. And the depression that's going on associated with this, and the patients, we always say patients, but the people who've lost loved ones. This is and who've lost loved ones, untimely due to COVID. That's how many? What's the death toll now?
No,
for COVID?
Almost 300,000 people.
Yes.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah, almost 300,000 people.
I have a question. Okay, it's gonna sound kind of weird as far as social media. I feel like social media is like a double-edged sword, right? You look at social media and everybody over edits what they've posted, they've filtered, and they own, someone was telling me that, they basically they take 50 pictures before they choose the one that they're going to post, right? And so you see this edited version of people's lives, and then to me, that just makes you more depressed. And so I actually am not a big advocate of looking and spending hours scrolling on social media, because I think it makes you crazy, and it makes you compare all the time, and it makes you super duper like self critical about where you are, and you enhance where everybody else is. But on the flip side of that, I really think that the social networking, because I don't think social media is social networking. It's really not about connections. It's really is looking at stuff, and it's almost like flipping through a super edited magazine of people that you actually know.
Yeah.
But I think if those like social organizations, right? Like if you are a person who's alone, or if you are a person who, I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to say like hook up with somebody, but I think that it is a good thing to find a social organization or some kind of group or affiliation online that you can get those connections, like real ones where you're talking to people and you're having like discussions, or even a support group or something like that. I mean, there are resources out there That is not, I'm not talking about the ones that you're just looking at stuff. Does that make sense? And I'm not sure.
It does. I want to add to what you're saying. You're exactly right, Dr. Contessa. When we look at adults, it's around 50 pictures that people take, and around teenagers, 100.
Wow.
That was average back 5-6 years ago when we last did a study amongst how many selfies a teenager. 100.
100 pictures.
100.
That's
before
insane.
they find the right one, the right angle, the right filter. My nose, is that okay? My side, the right one. 100. And that again was 5 to 7 years ago. I actually did a small study about that. And consequently, at the same time, I believe Dateline was actually having a similar kind of presentation with kids and social media. And yeah, I think they did a similar study too. So yes, social media can be great, but also can be you have to be very, very careful. If you think about it, it's the best version of ourselves, right? When people actually post, majority of their posts is, oh, I just got my hair done, my makeup is flawless. Let me go ahead and take a picture and, snap some shots and I'll post it. Rarely do we talk about the bad days and all that. However, around the holiday time, I actually see a little bit more of those kind of posts where people are more into their feelings and their emotions, expressing themselves, which is a good thing. But it's also important to have that follow-up. So if you're just on social media and you're a friend, you may not necessarily recognize when someone's in trouble. So it is a good time for healthcare providers like myself to get on, at least with our friend network, our professional network, just to check in. There are current groups online that you can actually, and these are private groups online that you can actually go into regardless of what role you have. So let's say a mom group, single moms group that may actually, kind of communicate with other single moms in a group during the holiday season. So any group that you're involved in usually has a holiday time where you can actually stay connected. Stay connected. That is the key. We also talk about outside of social media, like church groups. Church groups are a great resource to stay connected. Stay connected. There are churches like my church here in Houston. We have things every single day where you can stay connected. Family and friends, I would actually plan out ahead of time, stay connected, have a happy hour on Fridays, have a social meet on Tuesday nights. You can call it whatever you like, get creative. But the point is to get visual and stay connected. If you're not, we rather not physical be in the same place right now. But if you can actually set up something virtually, perfect, stay connected. But getting back to the point.
Make sure that this is a socially distanced because of the holiday and because of that our ICUs are full right now. This is going to be a socially distanced holiday, and that interaction is definitely needed. So to contact an elderly person in your family, if someone could set up a cam in their home, and Zoom calls, that would be fantastic for the holiday.
Put it up on the TV screen. Go ahead and Bluetooth it to see everybody in the camera. Yes. I mean, I actually had a patient today. So I'm seeing, excuse me, one sec. I'm seeing patients on the weekends just because there's just an influx, right? And so I saw a patient today, first time. She and her family got together during Thanksgiving holidays in Georgia. Not sure what city, didn't ask. But well, Texas, Georgia, we gotta get ourselves together. She was visiting her family, and when she returned, she tested positive for COVID. Two of her stepchildren live with her and her husband. Her husband tested positive. One of her stepchildren tested positive, and 4 of her family members in Georgia tested positive. So she's been in quarantine since Monday, since they returned home. So again, I know that some people will physically be in the same place. We know that. We know that there's some people that are going to do that. But it's so important that you maintain physical distance. It's so important that you make sure that things are ventilated. If you are in close quarters, it's important that if food is being served, that one person is responsible for serving the food. Make sure everyone washes their hands. No towel use. Make sure you get some paper towels so that the contact between wiping your hands is minimum. I mean, I can go on and on about measuring the physical distance. But you're right, Dr. Scott. I mean, the best place to be is at home, if home is safe for you, because we all know that sometimes home is not a safe place. But if home is safe or wherever is safe for you, be there. be there, especially during the holidays. It can get very chaotic, and we just don't know how it's going to be because this is kind of a different holiday for all of us.
So what about these, like, and I don't know how dangerous they are, but I'm thinking if you're at home, then you could be naughty online, you know, like you can connect with the people. Yeah. Like, I mean, I know people are like, again, they're going through it, right? The loneliness and stuff. And so you have to be at home, but I mean, honestly, you got to get to know somebody anyway. So we aren't going to go out the first time with somebody you meet. I mean, I'm almost like, get on a lot of these websites and start, and I'm not sure, I don't know how it is out there. And I'm not sure. I feel like as long as you're not exchanging addresses and stuff like that, I mean, just start chatting and but don't, isolation kills. And so those thoughts that you're having, all those things, and that's what I think people are getting really confused when we say stay home and hearing like be alone all the time and don't interact with people. That's not the same thing. We go to the park, right? And so we sometimes will see when we're walking, our houses are spread out, but like if you live in a neighborhood, I thought it was the coolest thing. We'll walk past people and one family is sitting in their driveway, and then literally the other family is in the other driveway and they're talking across the street. I thought that was so cool. You know, I think that's better than just, again, you don't have to be inside your door. Sit on your front step, you know, and start looking at stuff that is making you feel good, but not stuff that doesn't make you feel good. And that's really assess your feelings. And if you're feeling worse when you talk to your family members right now, or that sister, everything she got it all together. You know, she's a fly psychiatrist with the best, you know, clothes and the best everything. And her social life is popping and her Instagram and social media is popping. And you really don't want to hear about how great her life is right now. Stop talking to her all the time, right? Just talk to her and check in. Turn it off a little bit, because if that's going to trigger you, then you need to figure out what's best for you. Because it's all, at this point, I would say, with not just it's not only about COVID, it's literally people over drinking, they're over drugging, they're in the hospitals also because they're trying to commit suicide, and they're just depressed and they're lonely and their anxiety levels are super high. So whatever that is, it requires that if you need to masturbate, get whatever you have to do. Don't feel like you have to suffer because you just have to survive right now. We've never been here before.
Right.
We don't know what the best thing to do is, but we do know that it's been a lot of kids even that have been committing suicide because that isolation is killing them. So we have to see signs and we have to do something about it.
Yeah, we
used to look forward to Christmas. It's actually increasing the risky behavior. Right. Amongst children. It's
unhealthy. You're exactly right. I mean, there's a couple of studies out right now that are very new that have shown that more teenagers and young college students are actually attempting more suicide attempts than adults. So yes, exactly. We have to be careful. Kids are coming back from home. Again, not necessarily the best situation for many of these kids. They already have an unbearable situation for many of them right now, going to school, but doing school virtually, having less social contact, like you're saying. And even just, again, getting back to just humanistic features, right? If we're not built to hibernate. So if we're indoors, like you're saying, very good points you're making, we actually increasing risk for being depressed as we stay indoors all the time. So no, definitely not suggesting that. I always recommend getting out at least 3 times a day outside your house. Whether, you know, if you go to work and you have a corporate job, you got to have some 15-minute breaks and lunch, get out during those times, just like you're at home, and go to the park if it's safe, your neighborhood, walk around there if it's safe. Make sure, you can even have a walking buddy and you all walk on different sides of the street. I mean, again, it's a form of exercise, getting out. We receive a lot of things from our environments, and it's just healthy to separate what we're doing indoors all the time as well, because a lot of us are not used to working from home or being at home and being teachers, janitors, custodians, all of those things for our children. So it is important to have me time and also time away from your daily work as well. Yes.
Do you believe in meditation and journaling?
Oh, yes. I do it every day. I believe in it wholeheartedly. When I wake up and before I go to bed, think about it like this way. It just calms your mind. It calms your mind. So a lot of people have anxiety or having problems with sleeping, going to sleep, staying asleep, not fulfilled sleep. And that affects our mood, affects our focus, our concentration, our self-worth. So it's important to just kind of like, center yourself, being able to meditate, get all those thoughts out from the day or worried thoughts out of your mind and say, hey, it's going to be okay. I'll address it the next day, and focus on just relaxing your mind so you can be at peace, but not just for sleep or when you wake up or go to bed, but even midday, because days are stressful. They're stressful. So even if it's 15 minutes or 5 minutes, I would definitely.
Keep a clear mind and a healthy attitude. And we have to watch we have to watch how much we depend on social media. We have to watch how much we depend on it, because remember, social media, everybody, we're looking at filters. That's what most people take pictures with, filters, right? The grass is always greener on the other side, exactly. And being on reality TV, we see a whole bunch of behind the scenes things that go on, and we know that the grass is always greener on the other side. And so everybody needs to take that into mind when looking at social media, thinking that everyone is so happy during the holidays, because a lot of people are going through loss. A lot of people are going through financial loss. People that were probably well off last year. They're wondering how they can buy their kids gifts. And I think we need to go back to concentrating on what's the most important thing about this season is really going to be loving one another and showing people that you have love for them, and making sure that we try to leave nobody that's just lonely for the holidays.
Yes.
I guess we need to talk about different ways that people should cope. With this upcoming holiday, dealing with depression, if you're dealing with loneliness, if you're dealing with, the financial problems, unfortunately, they're going to be here this season.
I know. There's a commercial that I absolutely love. Like, it's Steve Carell. He's like Santa, and he's like, Santa's helpers are like coming up with some cool toy ideas, and they were like, let's give like a snowball fight, like, hugs and kisses and togetherness. And he was like, that's stupid, but then he opened the box and it was like a snowball that hit him in the face. And he was like, okay, yeah, that works. Right. And that's the point. I mean, I think we've gotten into stuff anyway. These kids have everything. Like, what the hell do you need $1,000, what's it called? The
PS5.
Or whatever. Like, I don't know, when I was growing up, it was very comfortable to my parents to tell me no. Like, the kids all have $1,000 devices in their pockets. I didn't even have $20 in my pocket, but the sum total of everything on their person is thousands of dollars. They got a computer in their backpack or an iPad, then they got a phone, then they got AirPods. I mean, literally, I'm just like, right. I got, we would be scared to wear tennis shoes because we may get jacked. Right. You jack any of these kids, you want for 3 months.
Yes, exactly. No, I think that
I'm not advocating jacking these kids out here, but just saying we really do have a lot of good stuff.
Right.
But we don't. I mean, I guess also parents really need to let themselves off the hook, because it's an opportunity for them to dial it back anyway with the stuff. Like, this is maybe time, especially even those parents that are maybe feeling lonely, just to connect with the person that's in their home.
Right.
Exactly. That is, because they have been in these phones and they've been out and about and on the go and activities and all that kind of stuff, and we've kind of depended on the world and stuff to keep our relationships, really superficial.
Yeah. And so take time to
reconnect. Yeah,
we got to take time to turn those phones off, because you can sit there right next to someone, and we witness it with our kids having play dates now. They're sitting next to each other playing a game, and they're playing the same game, but they're right there on the couch. And they may be talking to one another still through the headphones on the computer. And I'm even guilty. Like, I remember, like, I didn't even enjoy that movie. And I said, you know why you didn't enjoy that movie? You were sitting there scrolling through social media. You don't even know what the movie you watched was about. You got to get rid of those phones and get family time back together.
I'm enjoying getting to know my kids again. I really am. I'm enjoying. They used to be so hyper scheduled, and there were so many activities that they spent all their time with. I mean, every single day was something. Drop them off at school, then they had some tutoring or something after that. Then they had an activity. Then on weekends were full of game or recital, whatever. And then we had church, and so it was no time to just do really nothing or even just sit and chat and talk. My daughter talks to me sometimes, and I love it. Like, I love that they just. I'm like, sometimes I'm like, you were so chatty, but that's the point. I love that she's chatting with me. I'm like, I thought that she wasn't, like I'm saying, I'm like actually personality wise getting to know them so much better. And I think parents also who are lonely and who are sad and are maybe should also think for 1 second, if I'm feeling like this, then the person I love may be feeling exactly the same way. And that, especially single moms and dads, I know you guys are working a lot and you're lonely, but maybe connect with those kids because they are also lonely too. And go out and take a walk with your kid. You can spend time with the people in your household. So start doing a lot more of that. Start connecting, doing board games, and actually
charades.
Learning why you like each other.
Like charades, kids and charades, taboo charades, the fucking thing on there.
And you may figure out your kid don't know how to read,
right?
Because maybe
I see parents, about 4 or 5 parents have said that they're gonna start homeschooling their kids just because they enjoyed it so much. So they've actually, but no, all of these things that you're discussing, think about.
They can also homeschool our kids.
Exactly. I'm not homeschooling anybody. Not my own kids. We have to do homework, but that's it.
We'll even pay them child support. Not quit. That's all we said. We need you to commit to a semester.
No, but everything that you're just saying, it actually, so this is the thing about this. You're actually engaging with your kids in the way that they're supposed to be engaged with, right? If we think about going back, if you just ask, if people are blessed to still have their grandparents around, right? Just ask them, how were the holidays for them? Yeah. That's one of the things that I recommend. So if you don't have any ideas, if your creativity is minimal, ask an older person. They could be at your church or your grandparent. Ask them, how were the holidays for them when they were younger? What were some of the things that they did? And that way, that can give some people some ideas in how they can reconnect with their families without media, any type of screens, electronics. And I would just say, turn it all off. And it's great if you plan ahead, because a lot of kids it's hard for them to detach, especially if they're used or accustomed to being on electronics. So just plan ahead. Let them know on January 5th, hey, this is going to be the schedule for the next 25 days, 30 days of the month, 26 days of the month. And this is what we're going to do, And even if you don't have it directly planned out on the weekends or however you want to plan it, everyone knows, put that schedule on the refrigerator. They're less likely to be resistant if you plan ahead. I'm not sure if your kids are like this, but if you tell them that they're going to like Disneyland or Disney World, you're planning this trip, they're so excited, right? They're probably counting down the days, marking the days off to the last day. Kids actually love structure, just like adults, and they want prep time so they can actually prepare, even if it's something that they're against or resistant to.
I love that.
Hold your ground. You can actually do it, parents. You really can. And that's for the single parents and divorced parents as well. Be empathetic to one another, respect tradition, but know that new traditions will be started this year just because it's a different year, and that's outside of your control. So, and then you're modeling, you want your children to learn and how they behave and how they treat each family member, and make sure that you co-parent. That is so important. So important. This is the time to rekindle those relationships, squash the idiot, the stupid stuff, put that to the side.
Right.
Yeah.
I think about the Diary of Anne Frank, right? She was a little chronicled her experience, and if you think about, but she essentially just wrote her thoughts down, what she was going through. She wrote it down, and that is a bestseller. We are going through essentially our own personal Holocaust right now. This is a time that no one else is going to ever understand. I mean, we think about, the flu pandemic, that was 100 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so when you are understanding that whatever you're going through right now, you may also have in you, your story may be something that people are reading about for generations to come. And so journaling not only can be therapeutic, but it also can be for you beneficial. You may figure out that you actually have some skills you're a writer, or you're a poet, or you're a songwriter, or a lyricist, or, whatever. But just doing this, it may seem like an exercise in futility, but when you write things down, it gets it out. I know for me, my mouth can be real left. Yeah, I know you see me on TV. So I can do that. And sometimes I'll say things, but you've known me for 20 something years. And my heart, really, I am like Rose Nyland on Roller Girls. I know with everybody. But sometimes what I say at that moment, because I'm angry, can leave a permanent, lasting effect. And so maybe just, especially when we're not allowed to leave because of COVID and able to like separate per se, you just write it down and you got it out and you didn't say it and you didn't ruin a relationship. And so it's also beneficial too to preserve kind of, because we are all under a tremendous amount of stress. We live in a pressure cooker, and that's so this helps with that. And again, like I said, look at that. If you fill this thing up, you may have a publishable product. You know.
Yeah, I have my journal here too, Dr. Contessa. Journaling is a lifesaver. It is something that I always recommend for every single patient that I see in mental health field. I call it a brain dump as well. So it's kind of like getting all the thoughts out, especially for those who can't sleep, just writing down, even if it doesn't make sense. So your journaling doesn't necessarily have to be about what you're grateful for, how the day went, but it also can be about, these are the thoughts I'm having in my mind, like you're saying, Dr. Contessa, let me just write them down because it really does help. It does sound simplistic, but it really does work. It really does. And writing those things down at least 15 minutes before your bedtime, getting those things out, and then you can actually make a map of the next day or your week. I mean, these are things that you probably didn't do, you still have to do, you got to call, and it becomes your schedule. So it's good to get it out your mind so you're not worried about it, ruminating about it, but also putting action to the list and getting it done and being productive. Journaling is also self-therapy. It's self-therapy. It reminds us what we've been through, what we're going through, how we can get through things, and how confident we are in getting through things, how much of a superstar we are. When a person has a bad week, you ask them how their week was. 9 times out of 10, they'll say they had a bad week because they're so focused on that one day out of the 7 days. But journaling allows us to see how many great days we're having more than not so great. So we just put things in perspective. It allows you to see things from a different view and appreciate things as you go through life as well.
So she's given us several pearls. I mean, most of the time we have these conversations and we don't get solutions. You've told us to get out 3 times a day. You told us to meditate. You told us to connect with people. You told us to get off of social media so much, right?
Turn it off.
Your 100 pictures before we post one, right? And you also told us to journal. I mean, thank you so much.
Get the sunshine.
Yeah.
You know, convert that vitamin D into the active form of vitamin D, because we know that vitamin D deficiency also depresses your immune system, leads to depression.
Makes you have more pain.
Yeah. So get as much sun as you can and smile as much as you can, because we want to release these happy endorphins during this holiday season. And we're wishing everybody, a very safe, productive, pleasant, and hopefully we can all find a better us during this season right now, and make sure that we're checking on our loved ones.
Amen. Exactly. All those things. Yes. Well,
we love you.
Thank you so much.
I love you all too. Thank you for having me anytime. Thank you. I appreciate both of you.
I wish I would. You would be my doctor. I swear, because I love you. I think you can fix me. Whatever is broken inside of me, I swear you can fix it. I just don't want to put all that pressure on my girl. I don't know how to. I don't want to be able to separate it. So I love you so much.
I love you too. Thank you both. Seriously, Dr. Contessa, Dr. Scott, I really do appreciate all the things you're doing. This is a wonderful broadcast that you're bringing to light for people. They're looking for answers. So thank you so much for doing this, because you provide a lot of answers for them this evening. You saved a lot of lives. Seriously. That's how this works. Yes.
Well, happy holidays to you and
you as well. You as well. Y'all get some rest and some me time in there, okay? Some couple time too.
And remember, it's Conversations with Contessa on YouTube. We gotta like and subscribe. We got Contessa Metcalfe, MD.
Scott Metcalfe,
MD. That's all my handles. And what are your handles on social media?
Dr. Dawn Psych, MD. Dr. Dawn Psych, MD. So that's my handle as well. All social media platforms.
Gotcha. We'll make sure we pin that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank everybody for joining us today. Thank you, wife, for inviting me. This was awesome.
Oh, I need you. What are you talking about inviting you? Anywhere I go, you're welcome. It's always a two person. You always my plus one.
It makes it easy.
Oh.
Stay well.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
All right. appreciate everybody for joining.